It's Emil. Over here in the corner, on the side, or on the fringe, as it were, you found us. This is literally my secret podcast. We don't talk about it. We just say, here it is. We're on YouTube, youtube.com at Emil Amok 1, EMILAMOK 1. I guess that's sort of like having a radio station. And we do this live, 2 p.m. Pacific, and sometimes it's long and sometimes it's short, and sometimes it's recorded. We like to go live because we like to talk about the news of the day. If you're an Asian American, this is like, man, this was our time to, I guess, shine in a way. Robert Hurd, the special prosecutor, was was being grilled by the Judiciary Committee, and I'm going to play some of my favorite moments. Okay, but first I want to just talk about some of the things that are coming up in my life coming up. I'm going to be in New York in April. I'm going to go to the New York City Fringe. I just came back from the Fresno Fringe, the Rogue Fringe. I think, I think they say Rogue because Rogue is Rogue and Fresno is Fresno. And you are more likely to say, oh, the Rogue Festival. Uh, is that on some riverboat? No, it's in Fresno. There's a river there, but I don't know if you can get a riverboat on it. But it was a great fringe. It was a great community. I love Fresno. I don't live far from it, but it's a reminder about how great the state of California really is. I mean, there's Fresno right at the doorstep of the Sequoia National Park and the Yosemite National Park. I mean, it's right there. It's got the beauty, it's got the ag, it's got the dry heat, and it's kind of forgotten. I mean, I think of Philip Levine, the great poet, when I think of Fresno State, and Jerry Tarkanian, who later was the basketball coach at UNLV, and that's how Fresno State comes up. Saroyan, William Saroyan, right? The great writer, American writer. But I really learned a lot about Fresno being at the Rogue Festival. I did Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. Wiley, I did Married to PETA. I did that focused story there, and I'm taking a different iteration to New York. I'm taking Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, Wiley Filipino, vegan trans dad. Oh, vegan trans dad, Emil, is that why you're in the closet? No, I'm in my closet now, but that's because I don't want you to hear the dogs. But this is a different, slightly different show. I mean, it's all Amok monologues, my variations, and this is the iteration I'm bringing to Under St. Mark's Theater at the New York City Fringe. It's a new fringe. The Frigid Fringe was in March of last year, February and March. And this year it's in April. Maybe because they thought, well, maybe more people will come out when it's a little warmer. I don't know. Maybe you have to still give out free pizzas and bagels and things like that. No, there's no food allowed. There's drinks. There's a little bar at that theater under St. Mark's. But it's a great time because as I describe it, it's sort of like John Leguizamo's Latin American History for Dummies, except I don't call you a dummy. I just assume your ignorance and talk about Filipino American history, my life, how it how the two intertwine, how they impact each other, and then I talk about my experience in the media at NPR. I talk about Harvard, and I talk about being a trans dad. Oh, what about the wily Filipino part of me? Well, Steve Martin, back in around 2000, wrote a piece in the New Yorker about In Search of the Wily Filipino. He couldn't find one in New York. He visits an acupuncturist. It's a satire. But there were wily Filipinos, and they had to get by on their guile because of their status as colonized Americans, one of whom was my dad. And so I talk about that in my show. I call myself, he's a wily Filipino, but he's also a Willie Filipino because that was his name, Willie. So that's the wily Filipino. The vegan trans dad, vegan because I'm vegan, trans dad because you're just going to have to see the show. I mean, people who went to an Asian American Harvard alumni group meeting last October saw me do my story about this. I do a variation of that story in this 1 hour piece. So there's going to be a lot of not embellishments, but additions because there are things that I had to leave out in a 5 minute story that I can include within a 1 hour overall show. So if you were lucky enough to be at that Asian American thing at Harvard, it was during the week when all hell broke loose at Harvard, right? Well, not all hell, but when the beginning of all the troubles Harvard's had recently, and Alan Garber was even speaking to the group, not knowing he would be the new interim president within a few weeks. So it's kind of interesting, I think, that I take that story and I put it into my show because Harvard, for better or for worse, has had an impact on my life, and so it's all about legacy and to see if my son was interested in being a Harvard man. So anyway, if that's enticing, please come see Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino vegan trans dad. You can go to the website at frigid.nyc/event/6897:62. Oh, you're not going to see that. You're not going to remember that. Just go to frigid.nyc and then check out the ticket page there. Uh, Under St. Mark's Theater in Manhattan, it's the East Village. Not exactly, the Lower East Side is a few blocks down. It's the East Village. It's like First Street and St. Mark's Place. Really, my favorite. Look, when you first go to New York, when you're a young kid, you think, "Oh, I love the East Side," because that's what you know. And then you say, "Oh, I love the West Side." Oh, and then because you go get on the other side of Central Park. And then you say, "Oh, I'm going to be more adventurous." And you say, "Oh, wow, Tribeca, the Village, Soho." And then you forget, "Oh, there's that on the east side. There's the East Village. Man, what a place that is. I love that's where all the restaurants are." Anyway, I'm going to be in the East Village. The dates are, let's see. Oh, I put the wrong dates on there. Oh, that's April. That should be April. Ooh. Oh, glad I caught that, huh? No, look, I'm gonna read from the actual page instead of what I've written. I'm gonna be there April 5th, April 8th, April 13th, April 19th, and April 21st at different times. Like on the 5th, I'm gonna be there at 9:30, 9:30 p.m. That's the opening night. So come well rested, take a nap. But I'll be there. I'll be there. And then let's see. On the 8th, let's see, what was 8:10 p.m. on the 8th, according to my dandy calendar. The 13th, let's see what day is it? Not 5:20. Oh, that's a good show. 5:20 p.m. Not a.m. That would be the Milkman's matinee, and no Milkman's matinee this time. The 19th at 8:10 p.m. And then we close it out on the 21st at 5:20 p.m. So do check it out, huh? Emil Amok, lost NPR host, wily Filipino vegan trans dad. I'm telling you, it's hard. Sometimes I have to do these little resistance things to buoy up my veganism. Like I have to walk past the you know think of something obscenely meat oriented, like maybe like something meaty, at the store, that you might want to buy. Like, maybe they've got something on the rotisserie or something. And I walk by it and I have to like it builds up resistance when I can just walk by it and not feel tempted to say, "Oh, I would like that." No, I would not like that. I would not like that. A better example is just going by In and Out. Like they have In and Outs here in California, and I use that as my resistance training to be a better vegan. And I just drive by it, and hopefully the lines are so long I can't get in. I can't get in the In and Out, and then I'm relieved because I'm vegan for another hour or two. But no, I sometimes the line starts moving, and I'm in it. I'm stuck, and I have to go to the line, and then what do I tell the girl with the little chevron hat who's going to take my order? What do I tell her? I have to be a strong. That's how I get to be a strong vegan. And people say, "Come on, Emil, you don't really do that, do you?" Yeah, I do that. I do that, and it works. It works. It really works. So, Emil Amok, lost NPR host, catch the show April 5th, 8th, 13th, 19th, 21, all different times. It's at Under St. Mark's, 94 St. Mark's Place in New York. 10090. My favorite set of numbers there. And let's see. Emil Guillermo goes amok as he considers all things in a comic memoir on being American Filipino. Sex is everything. From his father's colonized past, NPR, Harvard, and finding out the true nature of his offspring's gender identity. Wow. Does, does that sentence pack a punch? And here's what some people say about Emil Amok's monologues. Enjoy trying to keep pace with Guillermo's brilliant mind. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Funny, poignant. That said the Orlando Weekly. And they said it once, 1 week ago, a few years back. And then last year, Manhattan Digest said comical and often profound observations. Oh, my God. DC Metro Theater Arts said charismatic, which was also a name of a horse that ran in the Triple Crown. And Mike Daisy didn't write a review, but I've taken classes, studied with him. He said, a lovely storyteller, which is about as positive as you can expect Mike Daisy to be. So anyway, uh, I'm going to say this. It's not on here yet, but proceeds from ticket sales will benefit the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. So definitely consider seeing Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan trans dad, April 5th, April 8th, April 13th, 19th, and 21st. Okay, please. Only 5 shows. Only 5 shows. Imagine that. Only 5 shows. And go to www.frigid.nyc. Look for Emil Amok, 2 words, and definitely check it out. Okay, so hey, so good to see you here. If I picked up my Wall Street Journal, I pick up the Wall Street Journal, so I get intel on what's going on, how the capitalists are thinking. The capitalists have put Muslim women on the front celebrating Ramadan, so they have some sense of, hey, diversity, religious diversity. I mean, the Muslims are the fastest growing people, or religious group in America. And of course, all over the world, Ramadan has started. And if you are celebrating, I just want to honor your and respect your worship, Ramadan. And the journal put it on the front. Headlined with talk stalled, a tense Ramadan begins. They weren't able to get a ceasefire yet. Tension between Biden and Netanyahu. This is, I don't know. We This is one of the world's hotspots. The other is Ukraine, and we keep sidestepping both until I don't know what's going to happen. But consider that the way Biden's doing it now is probably better than the way the other guy would do it. And we think we're thankful that the other guy isn't in charge. Hey, here's something that was in the Wall Street Journal. I had the opportunity, perhaps, to rent an electric vehicle um, last weekend. I didn't do it because I don't really know how to. I mean, I haven't had the experience with an electric vehicle, and so I didn't do it. But I asked the person at the rental car place, and they said, yeah, a lot of people are freaked out. They don't want to get stuck. They didn't know about chargers. They don't know about how to manipulate the car. I mean, I have a hard enough time with gas cars trying to figure out what side to gas up on, right? You know, I I figured it out that you look at the dashboard and see where the arrow is pointed on the icon, and that'll tell you what side of the car it is. But now they have this new thing where how do you open up the gas cap or the door to the gas cap? Sometimes it's like so bad and not so obvious that and because of design and things like that, you have to go to YouTube to say, how do I open the door to a Ford Mustang or to a Chevy Malibu or whatever? And of course, I'm not the first one because there it is. Someone has made a video. One of the great things about YouTube. Anyway, I mentioned the EV because headline in the journal today: old battery woe plagues new EVs. The 12-volt relic of gasoline engine cars is losing juice, dying in some models, which is the last thing you want to hear when you have an EV and you don't know where to charge the darn thing. You got 200 miles to on a charge, but where are you charging? I mean, I want to go EV, but I think at this point we're still hybrid. And of course, when I had to rent a gas car, I hated that because it like doubled my gas prices. But my anxiety over having a battery that ran out, that was a big deal. All right, so I said I was going to talk about my favorite Robert Herr moments. I don't know if you've been, sure, you've been following this. When Biden got into trouble because of the documents, and then Merrick Garland assigned a special prosecutor Robert Herr, who is a Trump appointee, and many people thought, oh, this guy can't be fair. Well, maybe he is a little fair. And I remember when he came out with his report, I wrote a column on the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund blog, and I said, Robert Herr went over and above the call of duty. I mean, he didn't have to say three-quarters of what he said. All he had to say was in the first graph where he said there was no case, there was nothing that would rise to a crime that you could take Joe Biden to court, right? That you could prosecute him on. I mean, the very first graph was all that was needed. But because he's an Asian American, maybe because he's an overachiever, he said, Harvard guy, New York, Korean American, 1.5, go, 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 right? Harvard Law, I think Harvard Law, Harvard undergrad, certainly. But he wrote this massive report, so thorough, that he got into the age questions about Biden's memory. And someone today actually had the audacity to talk about senility like it was a real issue. And to Herr's credit, even though he raised it in his report, Robert Herr, just answered honestly. He said, "Look, this is something I'd raise. I mean, he didn't say the president's not senile, but he said that you know, this is not a matter of senility or aging or anything like that, but it was used by members of the media, it was used by political people to try to bash Joe Biden. And my column in the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund suggested that what Her did was open up this idea of ageism. I mean, it's hard enough when people like Asian Americans, other people of color, have to fight racism. And now when you have to fight ageism too, I mean, Joe Biden doesn't have to worry about racism, but now he's got to worry about ageism. I used to think, I honestly used to think that maybe ageism would bring us together because we're all fighting the same ism. And this was my naive thought maybe 40 years ago. I thought, God, when we all get old and we all age, we'll empathize with each other and we won't see the differences and we'll come together and be unified because it's not race that separates us, it's not class that separates us, it's ageism and the fight against growing older that we all experience together. And that's what I thought. That's what I hoped. And I thought that what Robert Her did was open up that whole area of ageism. And that's what the Republicans saw. And that's why we had those hearings today. We didn't have to have those hearings today. But the Republicans want so desperately to get something on Joe Biden, especially on this documents case. So to me, it was interesting to see Her up there, Robert Her, and not playing into the Republicans, not playing into the Democrats. The Democrats, they like the fact that Her's out there because they can then make distinctions between what Donald Trump did with the documents and what Joe Biden did with the documents. And what Biden did with the documents was so innocent compared to what Trump has done with his documents in Mar-a-Lago. Now that was clear, and the Democrats made that point time and time again. But the Republicans were just flat when they tried to get Her on this idea that, oh, well, Joe Biden's senile, right? No. Joe Biden is too old. Well, no, I had to consider this, Robert Her said, if this was going to be a case that goes before a jury. But Robert Her was very skillful in avoiding all the really tough questions. He answered them as best as he could without showing any kind of bias. And in fact, he was right there in the middle. He confounded the Republicans. Jim Jordan, who the best Jim Jordan could do is say, well, doesn't your report say that Joe Biden had an $8 million deal and that's a motivation for something really sinister? He's got an $8 million deal to write a book and he revealed something to his ghostwriter. This is Jim Jordan, the pit bull of the Republicans. He had nothing. But that was the best that Jordan could do. It was sad for the Republicans who were hoping for a big score. They were hoping to somehow get enough on Biden to. You can't erase all the bad that Donald Trump has done. That's one of the Republicans' problems. And yet the Republicans don't want to extricate themselves from Trump. They're in with Trump, so they've got to make Trump's adversary look worse than he possibly can be, maybe as bad as Donald Trump. But they can't. They couldn't today with Robert Her. They couldn't get it out of Robert Her, so the Republicans are frustrated. And now the best they could do is they come up and say, well, this isn't fair. This is a two-tier system of law where, Joe Biden gets away with stuff and, why can't Donald Trump get away with some stuff? I mean, this whole idea of having a hearing with Special Prosecutor Hur has backfired on the Republicans. Meanwhile, it's kind of helped the Democrats because one thing you can say about this is that the Democrats can really show the difference between Trump and what Trump did with his documents and what Biden did. Now, here was moment number one, which I really like. There's two moments. The questioning by Ted Lieu of California. Senator House member Ted Lieu. I don't want to give him a promotion. He's not senator. Representative Lieu on the Judiciary Committee is he's on leadership, right? He's either you go a committee route and you're head of a committee, or you go in leadership. So he hasn't been as vocal as he's been in the past, but he was good today when he addressed her, a fellow Asian American. And I thought it was good because here we had Asian American versus Asian American, success story against versus success story. Her, the Harvard guy, legal guy, special prosecutor. Lieu, he's a Air Force colonel. He's a state legislature, then Congress, and here he is, in leadership. And his line of questioning. First, he went after Jim Jordan, and that was interesting in and of itself. Let's play a little bit. He said, so he had to take a swipe at Jordan, which is rightful because he was right to do so. Because Jordan ignored a subpoena when they were doing the January 6th investigations, and it was just you need a reminder of those hypocrisies when you get a grandstanding play like bringing in the special prosecutor on this documents case against Joe Biden. Okay, so now here is Lieu talking to Mr. Hur, and he begins by talking about complimenting him on his compelling immigrant story, which it was. It was. And it's here's a Asian American versus Asian American. Lieu is on the left somewhat, moderately so, but he's on the left, not a full on progressive. He's not a member of the squad, but here's Lieu, and then here's her, who is Republican as all get out, as they say, but not as Republican as a MAGA type because he was not quite as loyal as the Republicans had hoped, those Republicans who backed Donald Trump. So here are Lieu's questions. Okay, so you hear that what Lou is doing, right? I mean, he really is exposing the Republican.
Let's see. I have to fix the audio. You really see how he's exposing the Republican stance, and I think it's really a clever thing. I mean, you listen to all the senators, and who is to the point, who is right there, who exposes the difference between Trump and Biden. But Lou, and he's a prosecutor, so he knows all this, but he does it skillfully and deftly in that questioning. Now, so let me continue here with this.
In your investigation, did you find that President Biden set up a shell company and covertly paid $130,000 in hush money to an adult porn star? No. Did you find that President Biden directed his lawyer to pay $150,000 in hush money to a former Playboy model? No. In your investigation, did you find that President Biden called the Georgia Secretary of State to demand that he, quote, find 11,780 votes? No. Did you find that President Biden devised a scheme to organize a slate of fake electors to undermine a free and fair election? No. Did you find that leading up to January 6, 2021, President Biden urged his supporters to travel to D.C. and to storm the Capitol? No. Thank you. Each of these activities I laid out describe what Donald Trump did. His efforts to bully election officials, overturn results of the election, and deceive the American people. That is why Donald Trump has been indicted, and not just one, not just two, not just three, but 4 criminal cases.
And that was Ted Lieu, Representative Ted Lieu, who skillfully brought us through everything that carefully, side by side, indicates the differences between what Donald Trump did and what Joe Biden did. If there was ever a doubt, there was a special prosecutor being questioned by Ted Lieu, said, did Joe Biden do this? No. Did Joe Biden do that? No. Did Joe Biden do no? All those things. That's what Donald Trump did. All those bad things. And then it was just a real masterful way to re-prosecute or to prosecute on this stage the actions of Donald Trump at a hearing that was about Joe Biden with the special prosecutor in the Biden case, Robert Hur. So that was my favorite moment, right? My favorite moment was seeing Ted Lieu. But I want to play one other one because it was Jamie Raskin. And Jamie Raskin was good because Jamie Raskin, he brought out the threat of Donald Trump and why it was important. And it's another one of the differences between Trump and Biden. And let's see, let me find it here. Jamie Raskin. Where's Jamie Raskin here? Is this here? It was just really talked about Orban. Okay, talking about being memory detectives. Okay, so here it is. So here is Jamie Raskin.
Mr. Hur, your report starts with the line, we conclude that no criminal charges are warranted in this matter.
Okay, so that's the very first line, right? No criminal charges are warranted in this matter. That was Hur's first line. I was trying to recall it a few minutes ago. That was it. Here's more Raskin questioning her.
Have you had any reason to change your opinion about that?
No, ranking member.
You highlight the independence and support you got from the Attorney General and DOJ. Have you changed your mind about that?
I have not.
The report describes President Biden's cooperation in your request. He allowed his homes to be searched. He answered questions for hours in the midst of a global crisis. Have you had any reason to change your mind about that?
No, ranking member.
All right. You also repeatedly contrast Biden's cooperation with the conduct of Donald Trump. You say, quote, most notably after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. Have you any reason to change your judgment about the differences between President Biden's cooperation and the former president's non-cooperation?
No, I continue to stand by those words in my report.
We have such a striking contrast. Our colleagues have switched over from being impeachment investigators for constitutional high crimes and misdemeanors, which is how this whole thing started, to being amateur memory specialists, giving us their drive-by diagnoses of the President of the United States, whose soaring oratory, powerful historical analysis, and devastating extemporaneous repartee with even the most skilled ninja hecklers of the Freedom Caucus were on full display at the State of the Union address last week for the whole country to see. The desperate quest to invent an issue is a distraction from the 91 federal and state federal charges that Donald Trump faces now, his staggering civil court losses in New York now totaling more than $500 million, and his full-blown embrace and romance with authoritarian dictators and communist tyrants all over the world, from Viktor Orban in Hungary to Vladimir Putin in Russia, the former head of the KGB, to the communist dictator of North Korea. It's not... This, my friends, this is a memory test. But it's not a memory test for President Biden. It's a memory test for all of America. Do we remember fascism? Do we remember Nazism? Do you remember communism and totalitarianism? Have we completely forgotten the sacrifices of our parents and grandparents and prior generations?
Now, when he said that, that really got me, because there was a time when we were so fervently anti-communist, so fervently anti-totalitarianism. And if you were growing up in a certain age, you'd see the books, the literature that was written. We didn't have TikTok and social media to tell us otherwise. We'd have to read books like 1984 and Orwell. We'd have to get it in school. And, you know, it's like we've forgotten all that. It's like all that from the old generation. Well, is that old generation thought? Is that now done? Is that over? I mean, it's just, like I said, when Raskin said that, I gave me chills.
Memory test for all of America. Do we remember fascism? Do we remember Nazism? Do you remember communism and totalitarianism? Have we completely forgotten the sacrifices of our parents and grandparents and prior generations? Well, we play pin the tail on the donkey in this wild goose chase. All of these silly games. Donald Trump entertains authoritarian hustler Viktor Orban at Mar-a-Lago for the weekend, and Orban comes out to declare that if we indeed sleepwalk into another Trump presidency, Trump will, quote, not give a single penny to Ukraine. That's what all of this is about. It's about trying to pull the wool over the eyes of America, because the tyrants and dictators of the world are on the march today. So who wins with this ludicrous, embarrassing spectacle? Orban wins. Putin wins. Xi wins. The tyrants of the world win. They have one more reason to celebrate Donald Trump and his cult followers, who've completely lost their way. They're looking for high crimes and misdemeanors. Now they appoint themselves amateur memory specialists, and that's what they pounce on the President of the United States about. America faces a choice between democracy and tyranny. And the president laid it out at Valley Forge, and he laid it out in the State of the Union. Will America stand on the side of people struggling against fascist aggression? Will we stand with the people of Ukraine against Vladimir Putin, whose filthy war has meant the kidnapping of thousands of Ukrainian children, the murder, the slaughter of thousands of Ukrainian civilians, and the attack on an independent sovereign democracy? But we're not working on that today. We're not standing up for democracy and human rights and international law around the world. No, we're trying to play memory detectives, to parse the language of a president who the whole world got to see at the State of the Union address, directly address the real questions of our time. And it is democracy versus dictatorship. And all of the autocrats and the theocrats, all of the kleptocrats of the world are together in league against American democracy. And we have to stand up for American democracy against these stupid games. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
And that is Jamie Raskin. I mean, like I said, there's so many senators and representatives who are speaking out on this, and some are, duplicates somewhat. But the two that stuck out to me as I watched for most of the morning, a good 4 hours or so, I took some time out to do something else, but I watched. And Ted Lieu, Representative Ted Lieu of California, when he really deftly brought Robert Hur through all the things that Donald Trump did that Joe Biden didn't do. And there was Robert Hur saying, no. It was perfect. And then there was Jamie Raskin, you just heard, who took it up a notch, giving it a global view about why haven't we, as Americans, made the connection that when Trump spends the weekend with Viktor Orban, when he coddles up to Vladimir Putin, not just recently, you can go back to 2018 in Helsinki. I mean, that Google 2018 Helsinki, Putin, Trump, and it's mind-blowing the kind of deference that Trump, President of the United States, leader of the free world, the way his attitude toward Putin, like Putin was his superior. It was just, I remember being in I was on the road, so I was in Chicago and just couldn't believe what I was seeing on the TV as I was watching the dispatches from Helsinki. Anyway, I think what's going to happen now is that the Republicans, well, they're going to try to salvage what they can. Robert Hur's not going to give them anything. Kudos to Robert Hur for standing up and being a kind of stand-up guy, although I think he went too far when he did all that he did initially with that report that went into all the things about age and Biden's memory. It got Republicans all wet and wild, and they thought, oh, there's more. We're going to question Robert Hur, and we're going to, find more dirt. There's got to be more. And there really isn't. Because Robert Hur, turns out, even though he was slightly ageist in that first report, has something that a lot of Republicans don't, and that is integrity. So we're thankful. If all the Republicans were like Robert Hur, then I think we could live together and work together to make a better America. But when you have some who are cultist Republicans, MAGA Republicans, who would just give in to the former president, that's when you have problems. And I'm talking about people like Carrie Lake, who's running for senator. I'm talking about people like all the MAGA types who are on the short list for vice president. People like, I know, Senator Britt from Alabama, after making up that lie, is she on the short list now that she's been exposed? But people don't care about Katie Britt's lies. Lying about a woman trafficked by drug cartels. No, not true. Trafficked? Well, not really. She was pimped out by someone. She didn't cross the border. She was in Mexico. But it was a story that was used by Katie Britt during that State of the Union rebuttal because it was emotionally charged. And we are in a debate where truth doesn't matter, apparently. It's just all feeling. All feeling. We're in a truth optional world now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Katie Britt's story about a woman trafficker. Oh, it wasn't even the Joe Biden administration. It was during the George W. Bush administration. How's that for a lie? I mean, that is really stretching it when the lies are being spread by the people who are trying to stop Joe Biden. And for one purpose only, they only see MAGA. They only see the Trump cult. And that's the way it is in Alabama. Senator Britt mocked by Saturday Night Live over the weekend. She deserved it. But that's an example of the kind of Republican mindset that is taking our country backwards. So we thank Robert Hur for having a backbone standing up for his report, even though he probably could have done about 3/4 less of it because it was sort of irrelevant beyond the first graph saying that there was no reason to charge Joe Biden. But he couldn't be used by the Republicans, and he was at least used by the Democrats to show, yes, in fact, there are real differences in this documents case against Joe Biden with the documents case against Donald Trump. And let's not forget that. All right, that's it for our show today. I just wanted to share that in case you're saying, Emil, they're talking to this Robert Hur guy. What are we going to think? What should we think? Well, I think we should thank her for being a stand-up Republican guy. You know, trying to do the right thing. It's hard to be a Republican and do the right thing these days. Shouldn't be. But when you see people, all the name Republicans out there, from Elise Stefanik, oh my God, Elise Stefanik, she's taken a hard right turn. Lindsey Graham, my God, you look at what they said immediately after January 6th, you see what they're saying now. Same with Kevin McCarthy. What he said immediately after January 6th and what he's saying now. Oh, by the way, the latest on who's going to replace Kevin McCarthy in Bakersfield, Fresno, that area. Vince Fong looks like he's going to be one of the two in the runoff in the general, and he's the guy the GOP and Trump and McCarthy have endorsed. And there's a specter for you. The leading Republicans could very well be Asian American. Yeah. Well, I mean, you had a black conservative run for president, Tim Scott. You had Latino conservatives, Marco Rubio, run for president. And then actually, you know, Nikki Haley is an Asian American, and she was right there to the very end. But these are the up-and-coming guys. Just like there's a guy out of Virginia. I think he's still in the race for Senate. He's running for Senate, I believe. Hung Cao. Seriously, Hung Cao out of Virginia. All these conservative Asian Americans, Vietnamese, Chinese, South Asian, Indian, they're out there. That's diversity, folks. I mean, people say, oh, there's no diversity. There's all just this. No, there's real diversity. But what you need along with diversity is a sense of integrity. I mean, that's something that Joe Biden talked about. He says, you can't just love your country when you win. When you lose, you got to come together, work hard together, solve problems together. We're a country. We're united, right? And only when you get this negative, oh, they're my enemies. I gotta kill my enemies. When you get that mindset, then things don't work. So we gotta thank Robert Hurd today for just standing up, being a stand-up guy, and not being used by the Republicans nor the Democrats. Although the Democrats got to use him a little bit more because they were just pointing out what is there, what is right. There is a difference between what Donald Trump did with those documents and what Joe Biden did. Plain as day. All right. That's it for our show. Thank you very much for listening, watching. We're here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Live on youtube.com/@EmilAmok1. I like just to send you to YouTube, and you can see that show, and you can see other shows I do, like the PETA podcast, which drops tomorrow. Oh, it's interesting. If you love dogs, if you're a dog lover, you're going to want to listen tomorrow to the PETA podcast. What else? And then, all these other sundry things I do here. Emil Amok's Takeout. My takes on all things considerable. What else is coming up? Oh, I'm going to be doing something in Los Angeles. At a club called 3 Clubs on Vine. Just a 5-minute set. Send something to me on amok.com, or just say, hey, where are you going to be? And you can get tickets. I'll send you a link on how to get tickets. I just do a little 5-minute stand-up set there. And then I'm just gearing up to go to New York in April. One more time. You're going to New York in April, Emil? Yes, look. I'm going to the New York City Fringe with Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, wily Filipino, vegan, trans dad. Trans dad? Emil? Yeah? Well, yeah. I mean, it's a good story. You'll like it. The wily Filipino part, the Lost NPR host. You'll say, well, why are you the Lost NPR host? Well, how do you find yourself? Anyway, go to frigid.nyc and search for my name, and you'll find the place to get tickets. And the dates again: Friday, April 5th, Monday, April 8th, Saturday the 13th, Friday the 19th, and Sunday the 21st. Just 5 dates, all different times. Go to the calendar, get a ticket, come. Just remember that some of the proceeds will go to benefit the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, celebrating their 50th year. 50 years for ALDEF. 50 years. All right. So I like to do a little meditation, because meditation makes the world go round. Instead of getting all huffy and puffy and upset about things that I have no control over, I like to meditate. It's helped me. Anger management? No, I just sit in the corner and do nothing. Really, that's the best thing. That's the best thing. And I find that the best is the loving kindness meditation. Loving kindness. And a friend of mine meditates, and she knows that, you can do different versions of the loving kindness meditation. And it's more flexible. I do a basic one, but then, a lot of people do, they embellish. So, basically I say, may you be safe, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you live with ease. And my friend, a good friend in Austin, sent this. She says, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe from inner and outer harm. May you be free from guilt, shame, and hatred. May you enjoy mental and physical well-being. May you live with the ease of an open heart. And may you go beyond your inner darkness and awaken to your radiant true nature as boundless love. So, an inspiration from the basic, may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you be happy, may you live with ease. So, till next time, Emil Guillermo here. Thanks for being with me. Back tomorrow, 2 p.m. Pacific. Till then, mahal